teach that you should sell? They say, you should sell benefits, not features, right? Well, actually, they're wrong. My name is Robert Poole, and today I'm going to talk to you about what we should be selling. And this is a little controversial. It may upset some traditional sales trainers, but stick with me, and I think you'll agree by the time we're done talking that what I'm going to talk about is the true way and the most effective way to sell. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and a notification button so you get notified about things. And we've got a lot of great videos on this, so please like it and share it with your friends and colleagues if you think this is worthwhile content. And we're putting out more and more stuff. We're trying to get the word out, and it helps me personally, it helps our company, so we really appreciate it. But so back to what we're talking about. First of all, the concept we're going to talk about, even if you're not doing the direct line selling yourself, this should permeate your whole company with your salespeople, with your administrative people. Everybody needs to understand this whole concept. And so, what am I talking about? Again, people say, sell benefits, not features. But first of all, what's a feature? If you break it down, you can get complicated with it, but really, a feature is basically how does something work, or the process, the mechanics of it, that sort of thing. The problem with features, when you look at it, and this is where salespeople get in trouble, because they go into, I'm going to use an example of an in-person or over the phone type of thing, but this applies online just as much as anything else. So these concepts are the same regardless of the medium, but I'm going to use, in this case, an in-person type of thing. So, typically where salespeople get themselves in trouble is that they'll go into a meeting, and of course, they don't have a script. Most amateurs don't. And so they're kind of nervous, and they just start talking about stuff. They end up talking about their product or service where they're trying to sell, and they talk about it in terms of, it does X, Y, and Z. It works this way. It has these features to it. It has these specs. All the things that have to do with, again, how it works, the mechanics behind it. They start feature barfing and hitting somebody with technobabble, and you're going to lose them right there, because people, what does that do? What's that trigger in somebody's mind? Well, a couple things. First of all, it makes your product or your service into a commodity. So immediately when you start saying it's got X, Y, and Z specs to it, it's this many gigahertz and this much RAM and whatever, you're selling computers, what do? They say, oh, well, it's this product over here, what you're selling me, and you're selling it for this price. And so what about your competitor? What are they selling the exact same thing for? So immediately it invites, them to compare you to the competition, and immediately gets them thinking about price, which is, price is one of the most difficult things to overcome. But we're just asking in that situation for them to talk about price and think about price. And what else is the other major thing that it does? It starts to get the prospect to create their own story in their head of how things work and what's going to be the payoff if they buy this, etc. In other words, they've got preconceived notions based upon what they know about your product or service or similar products or services, and they're creating the whole vision in their mind instead of letting us tell them the story and guide them, like in the HSC process that I've talked about in previous videos that we should be doing. And so it totally sets them off, and you play defense, and it's this tit for tat the whole time. Excuse me. So you're talking about features when you're saying, hey, we're cheaper than X, Y, Z. It does this, this, and this. It's got these specs or whatever. That's when you're in trouble. If you really want to get somebody to start nailing you down on price and start comparing you to the competition, sell features. So that's really what amateurs do, and it's because they're not prepared. And so what's the next thing? Sort of an upgrade to that. And this is what typical sales trainers will tell you. It's sell benefits, which is how does this benefit the prospect? Benefit prospect. And so, this is certainly better than selling features. It's what I would say, average salespeople do. And unlike the people who sell features, the amateurs, if somebody buys from them, it's usually they're buying in spite of them, not because of them. A lot of times it's even if they sell benefits. So, benefits, are really just a feature in disguise. They're kind of like, here's a feature, and this is what how it impacts you personally. So if it has X, Y, Z specs, then hey, that's gonna, give you speed or something. Let's say a computer, it's got, this RAM and this hard drive and this and whatever. It's gonna allow you to save time or something. That's the benefit, which is, better than the feature, like I said. But the problem is that, again, what happens is the prospect will take those quote benefits and then kind of convert them into features. And then you're right back where you were with features, and you're being compared to your competitors. You're being compared on price. They're creating their own story, all the problems with features, because they basically, in their mind, they've created that story, and they're converting those benefits back to features. And it's also, from a salesperson's perspective, it's very easy to fall back into talking about features and going right into feature barfing and technical babble and all that kind of good stuff. So but that's what people teach, because hey, it's better than features, and that's why I would say that hey, that's what the average salespeople do, but one of the problems also is that as you go through and start talking about benefits or features, the prospect starts discovering and coming up with further problems in their mind. So you might say, does X, Y, and Z, and it's going to save you time, but then that gets them thinking, oh, so time is what I should focus on. And then again, what does that do? It pushes them back towards the feature. So maybe another product, maybe they think, oh, well, that other product from that other company might save me more time. So it creates these other problems in their mind. So, what do we do? I mean, if we have, we can't sell features and we can't sell benefits, which is what most sales training at the end right here, I would say what we need to be selling is results. And the result is the sort of the payoff, or the, basically, let's say what they're going to get. So what is somebody going to get by using our product or service? I don't mean what they get. Are they going to get, the specs and the hardware and the this and that, or even the benefits? What do they get? They're getting some sort of result. They're not buying something because they want, certain speed of a computer, or, they want that car that has got, that'll allow them to run around with, the windows down or the top down and feel good, whatever. It's difficult sometimes because we got to really probe for these things. And a lot of times the prospect may not even be able to explain what the result is that they're looking for. They will think in terms of benefits usually, or features, and that's what they'll start talking to you about. But this is where you have to ask questions, and this is where you have to know your audience. So, like let's say online, because you're not having a two-way conversation, but you have to know what's important to people, what they're really trying to get at. Example, what is somebody trying to, again, go back to the computer example. What is somebody trying to get when they buy a computer? Are they going there to, save time, or are they going there, whatever, no. They're going there because, they're trying to get ultimately some sort of emotional feeling. They're trying to get, they're buying that higher end computer because, hey, I can afford a fancy computer, because the difference between a fancy computer and the features it has versus one that's a low end whatever are like minuscule, really. So it's more about, how we feel. And pretty much all results come back to a feeling, an emotion. And I know that sounds funny, but it's true. If we take it further, even if it's unconsciously, somebody is looking for a result that's going to give them a feeling ultimately, because that's what we want as humans. We want either to feel important, to feel successful, to feel like we're smart because we made the right decision. Feel like we're, being efficient, whatever, It always comes down to a root emotion. So if we can figure that out, that's the holy grail of selling. Because once we can give that to them, other things like price become irrelevant because they don't care. And this is where it gets really important to understand your customer, like we talked about in previous videos. If we don't understand what triggers them, what's important to them, then it's very hard to sell them something and not be compared to everybody else. But if we can deliver that result to them, again, none of that other stuff matters. They're not looking at a competitor. They're not looking at the price. They're thinking, I'm going to get that. Even again if it's subconsciously. Let me give you an example. I'm going to date myself here, but let me just say it this way. 25 plus years ago, when I was a young man in my 20s, single, and think about what a single guy in their 20s, what's important to them, when they're in business, and that sort of thing. I had my own company, and of course, I wanted to be successful, and of course, that meant a growing company that was financially successful. Of course, I was trying to, attract members of the opposite sex, and a lot of that was feeling like I was important, like I was successful, like I was contributing, like I was, a successful business owner or whatever. And that was my priority. I didn't have a family or anything else, so that was what I thought about. And I went and, like a lot of young people, even older people, go and buy a fancy car. So I went and I bought a small red Mercedes convertible. I remember going to the dealership and going through the process with the sales guy. And one of the things I hate most, in purchasing things is buying a car. I just hate the process, just because a lot of times, well, let's face it, most of the time you have salespeople who are not very good at it. And a lot of times I just want to get out of there, But this guy was a decent salesperson. But so he started talking to me about, hey, it's got this kind of engine, and look, the top goes down, so you can drive around, everybody can see you with your cool car, and the ladies can see you, and it's just got this premium sound system, so you can blare in your music, and while your hair is blowing, and it's got these different features on it. The top goes down with just pressing a button. You don't have to manually do it. The 0 to 60 is whatever seconds and all that kind of stuff. And again, it's got this kind of engine, and it's turbo, and it's this and that. And the problem was that if the guy knew what I was actually thinking, I was thinking, I don't know anything about cars. I know where they put the gas in. I still don't. It's like put the gas in, and that's about it. Call AAA when the tire gets blown out. And I don't even know how to do that. I should have paid attention. My dad tried to teach me that stuff as a kid, but I didn't. So those specs mean nothing to me. A premium sound system. It's like it's in a car. How loud can you get the music? And I'm not an audiophile. I don't care. It's a decent sound system. A Toyota probably has a good enough sound system versus that one. The 0 to 60 or whatever. How big a deal is that to me? It's fast, but even a Honda's fast these days. So all these specs and things that the guy was talking about, these features, I really didn't care, to be honest with you. Why was I there again? I was there because I wanted the feeling of being successful. Let's face it, having a fancy car, a Mercedes, a BMW, even higher Bentleys, whatever, that's a feeling of success. You're not buying that because it's necessarily, the safest car or whatever, it may be, but most people are not doing that because of that. They're doing it because of ego. Let's be real here. Because it makes you feel good. It makes you feel successful. Like, hey, I've arrived. I can do this. I can afford this car. And that's what I was thinking about. And I was thinking about, all the ladies I could impress, that they're going to look and say, hey, this guy, is driving a nice car. He must be successful, in business or whatever, And that's what I was there for. And the salesperson didn't pick up on that, even though I was kind of like, you should have been able to tell that I wasn't interested in any of the specs or any of the features he was telling me. What he should have been asking was, what do I do for a living? Kind of getting the idea of what's important to me. And he could have just asked, are you a business owner? Whatever. Do you have your own company and all blah, blah, blah. And by that, he could have deduced that what's important to a single guy, Do I have a family and all that good kind of stuff. And he could have deduced the fact that what was probably important to me. And that's a problem, again, if you go back to features and benefits, is you're kind of guessing. You're guessing whether that feature, that benefit means anything to that person. And they're translating that to a result that they're trying to get. So if you'd been able to ask some of those questions, again, nice guy, it was not a painful process like it usually is, but he could have taken it to the next level because he didn't have to sell me on all that other stuff. All he could have said was, hey, this is what, I've seen a lot of successful young men like yourself, the guys who are doing well financially, who are, maybe they own their own company or at the top of their game. They buy this kind of car because they know that this says success. They know that this says, I've arrived, that I'm doing good in business, They know that it's going to attract the right kind of, well, maybe not the right kind of women, but it's going to attract the ladies, because it means you're successful. If he talked in those terms, bam, I would have bought it no matter what the price was. I still ended up buying it because I wanted it, but I didn't buy it because of the salesperson. I bought it in spite of him. So that's what I'm talking about when I say results. Of course, that's a, sort of consumer example. But, if you take, we'll take another example. My business, our company for many years, our main business was lead generation and appointment setting. So we would do cold calling, telemarketing, get our clients appointments and leads and that sort of thing. If you think about it, that business, just doing that, and we would do a lot more these days, the coaching, educational stuff, events, social media, websites, you name it, everything a business owner needs. But in those days, pretty much all we did was that. So, if we were selling it, how do we differentiate between us and somebody else? Well, we would say, if we were selling based upon features, it was, features, it was, hey, you get, because we did it differently over the years, you get X number of dials and this is the price or whatever. You get this many hours of calling and this is the price. We send out this many emails a month for you, depending on your list size, and it's this price. We design certain emails for it, it's this price. Again, what did that force people to do? It forced them to say, okay, here's this company that does this. Let's take that, compare their price and what they're giving me to somebody else. Basically, we commoditized it. And so, what would be an example if we sold the features on that? Well, we would say, hey, we're going to do the prospecting and the cold calling, the dirty, nasty work for you, so you can save time. You don't have to do it yourself, and it's more efficient. And our callers are professionals, so they're probably better at sales than you are, at least over the phone because they do it every day, so you don't have to worry about that. That's kind of a benefit, But what we should be selling, and we will figure it out eventually, is what they're really coming to us for. They're not coming to us for leads. They're not coming to us, for appointments. They're coming to us because they're trying to increase their sales. They're trying to grow their company. They're trying to take it to the next level. They're trying to financially support their family or take that big vacation. They're trying to get their company to the next level. So again, so they can feel successful, so they can feel like they're providing for their family, so they can enjoy that awesome vacation, buy that Mercedes, so they feel important. All those things, and if we focused on that, then no longer are we getting compared to other companies that do similar stuff. And we found that to be true, and it works amazingly well. Price becomes almost irrelevant because if we give somebody the result that they want, they really don't care how we do it, or even the price, as long as it's reasonable. As long as it's moral and ethical, who cares how somebody does it? People want a result, and so we got to really give them what they actually want, not a bunch of features and benefits, because then they got to figure out how to convert those and stack that up against the result they want. So it's actually very simple, but again, this gets taught the wrong way, and we focus on it. Is it easy to figure this out sometimes? No, it takes a little effort, a little thought, to come up with, what do our clients really want? What's the end result? And the Holy Grail is what's the end emotion that they're trying to get, or emotions. There's usually one major thing they're trying to get as far as a result. There might be ancillary stuff they're trying to get, but usually it's one thing. And so if we focus on that, again, sales becomes easy. And it's a lot better process for us, and it's a lot better process for the prospect, because let's face it, when they have to sit there and figure out and compare us to every other company, compare the pricing, evaluate all our features and see if, that makes sense for them. That's a lot of work and it's painful. But if we talk to them about what they really want, it becomes a satisfying experience where they actually enjoy the buying process. And that's how we create raving fans. So I hope this was helpful. Again, quit selling features and benefits, focus on the results that we're getting, what our clients really want, and sales becomes a much more pleasurable thing. So again, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, really helps us out, as well as hit the like button, that little thumbs up, and share and do all that other YouTube-y stuff. Got a lot of great videos on here, things that I think are very helpful to business owners, lessons we've learned over the years. So I appreciate your time, and I will talk to you on the next video.